Professor Mahapatra will tell you much better that in real life situations, things are always multidisciplinary and also multifaceted, and various issues are organically intertwined. And on the issue of development cooperation and development partnership itself, it is true that it is the primary instrument through which governments invest money in physical resources, in cultivating relationships abroad. But it is never about the economics alone. Especially in case of India, it is much more than the quantum of money invested by the government of India. But the sentiments behind the money, that matters a lot more. And also in our case, often the Indian values outweigh the Indian money. And the friendly countries, the people of those countries where we are engaged through development partnership, they see our projects not just a sign of India's economic investment and business financial support, but also they see it as a sign of our cultural and civilizational values and ideals, and also our democratic political philosophy, and the approach towards engaging others. For us, friends, development cooperation is not about deployment of surplus resources or excess production capacities, but demonstration of genuine solidarity with other countries, and sharing and caring for others amid acute resource constraints and development challenges of our own people. Also, friends, the government of India's approach to development cooperation has evolved over time in a very unique manner. It was shaped by our colonial experience, and the freedom fighters had very genuine, deep empathy and sharing of aspirations with other colonized countries for freedom. And Mahatma Gandhi had the vision of growth for all, and he spoke about one world, which itself originated from the deeply held ancient civilizational and philosophical urge for collective peace and prosperity and harmony in the whole universe. And the genuine, deeply held belief of the people of India has traditionally been in the essential underlying unity and inextricably interconnected and interdependent nature of our collective existence. And that feeling of connectedness is not only limited to human beings, but also to all living beings, animals, birds, insects, plants, and even inanimate constituents of our cosmic whole, rivers, mountains, planets, stars, and celestial bodies. We pray for peace and harmony for all of them. And there is a genuine belief that the existence of human being is part of a web of existence, and you cannot disturb any part of the web without disturbing the rest. And that is why the approach of Indian sages has been Sangachatvam Samvadadvam Samvo Manansi Janatam. It speaks about a collective effort, sharing of ideas, sharing of each other's thoughts, and learning from each other, and moving ahead collectively towards a more prosperous and peaceful world, peaceful existence, collective existence. Also, friends, given our own experience of pain and indignity of being colonized, the government of India has naturally displayed utmost sensitivity to development partners' aspirations for managing their own domestic issues of socio-economic development and safeguarding their independence and sovereignty. So our approach has been to place our very limited resources transparently at their disposal and let them decide their priorities and take full ownership and guidance and guide us with regard to how they would like us to proceed. For us, friends, the approach has never been that there is a overarching Indian strategy or initiative to which all other partner countries are expected to subscribe to or conform. But our desire has been to work with other friendly countries and let them guide us so that the government of India's approach towards development cooperation and development partnership activities is aligned with their developmental priorities and aspirations of the people of those countries. Friends, also it is important to note that the the development cooperation of India started very early, even before independence in 1946, when there was an interim government. The government of India offered a set of scholarships to Indonesia. In 1949, 75 scholarships were offered by the government of India to many developing countries. In 1950, the government of India established Indian Council for Cultural Relations under the Ministry of Education to carry forward the cooperation in education sector and cultural exchange. In 1961, starting from 1961, our very deep engagement with Bhutan started, and the first two development plans of Bhutan, 1961 to 66 and 66 to 71, were completely 100% funded by the government of India. Similarly, very deep engagement with the Nepalese authorities started. In 1964, the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program was launched, and we had soon after independence quite a substantial engagement in the development sector with Afghanistan, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. And as Professor Chintamani very aptly observed, that we in the early years of our independence, India itself was going through acute challenges, and our socioeconomic indicators were abysmally low. We had acute resource constraints. Still, the government of India and the people of India felt it necessary that within our constraints, we must be forthcoming with sharing of our experience and limited resources with other friendly countries. Currently, we have, friends, 5 modalities of India's development cooperation. The most important is capacity building. The Indian Council for Cultural Relations offered about 4,000 scholarships annually. Under Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program, we offer about 14,000 fully sponsored short-term technical training programs for civilian and defense sector personnel from other countries. We have under E-Vidya Bharati and E-Arogya Bharati for African countries, we have offered 15,000 scholarships through virtual mode. The second component is grant. We, particularly for the neighboring countries and African and Latin American countries, we have a program of supporting developmental activities in those countries through Government of India grant in aid. The third component is subsidized finance. The concessional lines of credits is currently the main instrument of our engagement with other friendly countries. The current outlay, aggregated outlay, is about $31 billion. More than 300 lines of credits have been extended to 64 countries, and they cover 651 projects, of which about 370 projects have been completed and 135 projects are under execution. And the bulk of the lines of credits are directed towards African countries and our neighborhood in Asia. Africa accounts for about $12.8 billion and Asia accounts for $16 billion. Then Central Asia and Latin America are also becoming more and more deeply engaged with us. The fourth component is duty-free tariff preference. The government of India has offered unilateral tariff concessions to LDCs, and the package covers about 98% of tariff lines of interest to them. The fifth component is technology transfer and local skilling. Based on our own experience, friends, because when India became independent, we had very limited educational facilities and technical capacities, and we benefited tremendously thanks to the support that we received from other friends. And we feel the importance of capacity building and skill development of the local people to manage their resources and manage their institutions. And therefore, the skill development of the local people, the partner countries, has been a very high priority for us. And whether it is grant project or it is lines of credit projects or our own direct capacity building program, the focus is on enabling our friends and partners themselves to have that capacity to manage their affairs and their projects. Traditionally, friends, our approach has been bilateral. We have been working together with friends at a bilateral government-to-government level, but we are also open to triangular cooperation. And in fact, we have India, Brazil, South Africa, IBSA fund. We have India and UNDP relationship for development projects in other countries. In Afghanistan, I was Deputy Chief of Mission, and we had some very interesting models of working together with UNDP and World Food Program. And also, currently, we are looking forward to more close understanding and consultation with other development partners like USA, DFID, SIDA, and JICA, and ADB. We are looking forward to greater synergy and understanding of best practices that other partner institutions have. Friends, in Development Partnership Administration, we have 4 divisions. The DPA was set up in 2012, and it has 4 divisions. The first division deals with capacity building programs and humanitarian assistance, and the third division deals with grant projects in important countries, particularly in the neighborhood countries. And the fourth division is recently created to look at capacity at cultural and heritage cooperation projects. And we are looking forward to currently we are working to have a greater synergy and integrated approach towards these 4 verticals that have existed since 2012. And also we are very keen to imbibe whole of government approach, so that we are able to incorporate tremendous innovation that has been introduced, particularly during the leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji in past 6 years in different sectors, different ministries. That we are trying to absorb the innovative aspects of the socio-economic transformation of India into our own development cooperation package. In general, friends, I would like to flag a couple of points about the approach of the government of India. We feel that it is important that India is seen as a trusted and reliable friend by our partners. And this has been our desire, that whenever there is any need of our friend and partner countries, we should be the first responder in emergencies. And whether it was in Maldives, or it's a water crisis, or in Nepal, in earthquake, or in Afghanistan when there was criticality of food shortage, or current oil spill in Sri Lanka, or in cyclone, India has been the first responder. Or also when our friends and partners have faced critical situations and economic difficulties, then the government of India has been forthcoming with currency swap arrangements or budget support or other mechanisms. Also, in the current situation of COVID, despite our own acute situation, the government of India has reached out and provided necessary drugs and medical relief material, testing kits, and protective gear to more than 80 countries. We also have been organizing e-ITech courses to share our experience and best practices in combating corona. And also, we have deployed rapid response teams in many countries. Secondly, friends, the important aspect is that our development partnership is with the countries, with the people in the center, and it is not about individuals in that country. And therefore, the range and sectoral spread of projects undertaken by the government of India is reflective of how we have tried to respond to the specific needs and priorities of other partner countries. And our general approach has been to create infrastructure which leads to longer term socio-economic development and local empowerment. For example, in hydropower sector, the power projects constructed in Bhutan, they are the lifeline of that country. The Delaram Jiranj road constructed in Afghanistan has transformed the connectivity in that country. The India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam in Herat province in Afghanistan again has emerged as a great contributor to economic well-being of Western Afghanistan. The Pule Khumri and Chimtala transmission line brought Kabul 24 hours energy from Uzbekistan. Similarly, the power project in Rwanda supplies 1/4 of power of that country. The Kosti power project in Sudan provides 1/3 of that country's power. The oil refinery project, for which we have given about $1 billion of lines of credit in Mongolia. The first cement plant in Djibouti, the first milk processing plant in Mauritania, the first sugar factory in Ghana, the upper river water treatment plant in Tanzania, which supplies drinking water to 2 million people around Dar es Salaam, the rural water supply project in Mozambique. Similarly, cross-border transmission lines across Nepal and Bangladesh and Bhutan, they are playing very important role. Similarly, railway infrastructure projects in Bangladesh are drastically improving connectivity. Friends, also we have given always the primacy to capacity building. And not only in terms of sharing of our experience to various capacity building and experience sharing platforms, but also in terms of creating institutions. For example, the Habibia School in Kabul or first ever agriculture university in Kandahar that we are supporting. The Myanmar Institute of Information Technology is again a flagship initiative in capacity building. Myanmar Agriculture Research Institute, the centers of excellence and vocational training centers in many countries. The E-Vidya Bharati project in Africa and E-Arogya Bharati project. The E-Tablet project in Mauritius and E-Library project in Bhutan. So we are consciously trying to invest public government of India's resources in sustainable institutions of learning and capacity building abroad. And also in terms of the global knowledge sharing, our Prime Minister has taken two very significant initiatives, International Solar Alliance and also Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So both, I believe, will be in times to come very important platforms for sharing of developmental experience in relevant sectors, in renewable energy and disaster resilient infrastructure. Friends, I think I will stop here and I will welcome any ideas, any questions, any suggestions from the audience. Thank you.
Mishra, thank you so much. In such a short time, you have shared so much of information for all the participants. This rich source of information can also be the basis for future research on this particular topic. I'm very fond of giving one data saying that when I was a student in a school, a midday meal system was there and we were getting milk powder. That milk powder used to come from the United States of America under PL 480. And today, when Ambassador Mishra is reeling out the data about what all India is doing in the field of its economic engagement with the rest of the world, this is remarkable. What he highlighted in a very, subtle voice is this: India's use of the term development partnership itself is a remarkable concept. If you read the American literature, they call it foreign assistance, they call it foreign aid, and foreign aid has been used as a foreign policy tool. I recall in the 1960s how, in the midst of famine in India, when we were dependent on food aid, we were asked to take certain position on Vietnam War in exchange. So it was a tool. Whereas in case of India, as Ambassador Mishra so beautifully pointed out, our policy is human-centric. Our policy is based on mutual respect. Our policy is based on national ownership and, of course, the sustainable development goals. He said it is not money which is just important. It is the sentiment, your attitude, your goal that is important. You are not investing your surplus money. You are trying to help the developing countries also come up by helping them through capacity building and so many different ways. He emphasized that when India itself is undergoing tremendous amount of stress due to COVID-19, we are doing whatever we can at home. We are going abroad to help other countries wherever we can. These are very, very remarkable points that we need to do research for simple reason. I'll just make one observation and then we can open up for Q&A. You see, look at the American assistance. It has always been conditional. Always been conditional. Of course, they will talk about rule of law, democracy promotion, and all kinds of ideal concepts. Look at the Chinese assistance. No condition at all. Anybody in the government, you want money, take it. And what Ambassador said, he said that our development partnership program is not based on an individual or a regime. It is based on the requirement of the country, and depending on the priorities of the government, India reaches out to those countries to help. So, but look at China, no condition at all. In the process, there is corruption, lots of corruption. Secondly, he said that we are training so many people, thousands of people from 160 countries, capacity building training program, even through the pandemic, by using the digital mode, the training program is going on. This is another remarkable thing, because whenever the Chinese money goes there, whether to Pakistan or to Sri Lanka or to Ecuador, to any country, if you follow very carefully, the Chinese capital goes there, the Chinese technician goes there, the Chinese laborers go there, and the Chinese engineers go there. The state becomes a rentier state. Just get some rent. Rest is all Chinese. In our case, we are actually building the capacity of the people there, which is another remarkable component of India's foreign economic engagement and development partnership. Let me quote something from China. If a person is hungry and give him a fish, he will no longer be hungry. If you teach him how to catch fish, then he can have a good living for the rest of his life. India is doing that, trying to help others learn, understand, build your capacity. So, Ambassador Mishra, I'm really impressed. So beautifully, you gave so many data and so beautifully projected. Let me now request Sweta, if there are any questions, Sweta, can you read out one by one question, then he can answer, then we can get back to the question. Sweta, please read out the question.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this informative and engaging session. The first question to you is, sir, where and how do you place Central Asian region in India's developmental assistance, especially in comparison to our neighborhood grants and assistance? The next question is similar to it, so I'm clubbing both.
One by one. Similar? Okay, go ahead.
So how is the development assistance taken forward by Prime Minister Modi's Neighborhood First initiative in recent years? So your views on that, sir?
Yeah. Yeah, well, first of all, I must thank the experts who have raised this both of very important questions. Uh, Central Asia has acquired a much greater degree of salience for the government of India, particularly under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, and we have had a very high level visits, summit level visits, and our Prime Minister personally has engaged the top leadership of almost all Central Asian countries. And as far as the development partnership is concerned, we are engaging the Central Asian countries through multiple modalities, including the grant projects, including the lines of credit projects, and capacity building programs, both short term and long term, and university education. So that the Central Asia has acquired much greater salience lately under the Prime Minister Modi, and it is a very active participant for all of our programs. And also India has joined SCO, as you know, and that also has raised the political importance and political level engagement of the of Central Asian region. As far as the neighborhood is concerned, we have uh, I must say, all governments, all successive governments since 1947 have attached very high importance to building relationships with our neighboring countries. And the current government under Prime Minister Modi has, in fact, publicly declared neighborhood first as a very important plank of its foreign policy. And whether it is grant projects or the lines of credit projects, the biggest recipients are South Asian neighbors. I can give you details. I think out of $16 billion, about $10 billion are allocated to neighboring countries in lines of credit. In terms of grant projects, more than 50% of grants, maybe 60, 70%, 70% of grant, big infrastructure projects are for immediate neighborhood countries. I was myself High Commissioner and Ambassador in Maldives, and Prime Minister Modi has visited Maldives twice, and the current level of engagement is around $2 billion worth of development partnership, including grant and lines of credit. And we have very close historical, cultural ties with our South Asian neighbors.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, the next question is your views on China's Belt and Road initiatives. Am I audible to you, sir?
It's not very clear.
Sir, what are your views on China's Belt and Road Initiative program?
The government of India's views on BRI have been stated publicly. I shouldn't add anything on that, but I'm focusing on my own engagement, India's own engagement with other countries. So therefore, it's not appropriate for me to comment on third countries' involvement.
Thank you so much, sir. So the next question is, what are the prospects for multilateral development partnership for various Asian African countries? What has been progress on Asia-Africa Growth Corridor recently?
Both?
What has been the progress on Asia-Africa Growth Corridor recently? I'll repeat the question, sir. What are the prospects for multilateral development partnership for various Asian African countries? What has been the progress on Asia-Africa Growth Corridor recently? So your views on those, sir.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would not comment on those because these are the multilateral economic cooperation is handled by my colleague. Therefore, I would not comment on this. The DPA's role is the government of India's primarily bilateral engagement with other countries in the development space. And as I mentioned, traditionally it has been bilateral, government to government, government of India and the government of other country. But we are also now exploring and now we are open to new ways of partnering with third countries also. For example, Japan, we have a kind of understanding for a project in Kenya. We have in energy sector project. We have a cooperation with Russia in Bangladesh project. We are exploring new ways of working together with other friends, kind of triangular relationship. And also with multilateral organizations, UN organizations. So I mentioned that in Afghanistan, we had a very robust partnership with UNDP in capacity building. The CAP project, capacity building for Afghan professionals. So under that, government of UNDP and government of Afghanistan, we had bilateral agreement. The government of India provided services of 30 Indian civil servants to go and provide necessary skill of the mining industry professionals. Similarly, we had interesting with World Food Program for delivery of notified biscuits from India to Afghanistan, to Afghan school children.
Ambassador Rajagopalan is with us. He would like to make an observation.
Yes.
Ambassador Rajagopalan, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, please.
Unmute, sir. You have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you yet. Yeah. No.
Hello.
Can anyone help? It is not unmuted. Can anyone help?
Now,
Now it's okay.
Thank you, Ambassador Mishra, for that excellent expose on the DPA. During my tenure in the ministry, it was a small affair, restricted affair, and it has been more formalized in the recent past. What started, I think it is 56 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 1964, when the high-tech program was initiated. Essentially, it comes out of the philosophy of we, India, sharing her experience, her successes with the new emerging nations of Asia and Africa. So the high-tech was an Indian technical and economic cooperation program, as Professor Chintamani brought out. It's a cooperation program. DPA is a program of developmental cooperation, not an aid program. And of course, it is essentially for training experts in various fields at the appropriate level, establishing institutions for human resource development, etc., etc. And I think Akhilesh Mishra very correctly brought out that these are based on requests and from the recipient country. We do not push them. We do not, unlike China, where the BRI, whether it's Hambantota or whether it is Gwadar, it has been pushed by China for its own interests. It is not for the love for the Pakistanis that they have established a huge port in Gwadar. It is for their navy to be located. The Hambantota is for them to oversee the sea lanes of communication of interest to them. The East-West, the BRI projects into Europe is for carrying Chinese goods into Europe. Nothing to do with the locals. The locals didn't ask for it. The Chinese had the wherewithal and the very deep pockets, and they decided to employ it. It's hardly a cooperation. It is not a cooperative. In our case, I'd like to give you a very classic example. where I was slightly involved, was with Guyana. The, the biggest cricket stadium in Guyana is funded by Government of India. It is on a grant basis, not because we wanted to build a cricket stadium, but the World Cup was coming, and Guyana wanted its own cricket stadium was not good enough. So it said, asked India, can you? And there were people who said, why are you spending money on a cricket stadium when you need something more for water, for drainage, etc.? And it was that since they wanted it, we gave it to them. We lost that World Cup, but that's a different story. We never reached that stadium. As far as neighbors are concerned, India is the single largest aid giver to 4 or at least 3 of the neighbors, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh. And in exchange, we get kicked in the shin every day, morning and evening. But that doesn't stop us. Nepal keeps kicking us for projects which we have given them, saying that you're not doing it fast enough. Bhutan has not, but there is murmur going on. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, we are a massive aid giver to neighboring countries. In spite of that, our aim, our philosophy has been one of sharing, whether it's a sharing based on their request. You mentioned about Afghanistan. Whatever Afghanistan is all, the Afghan programs which they have given us, and which we do it as much as we can. And one last point I want to make out is about AIGC. Somebody has asked a question on the Africa growth corridor, which was supposed to be with India and Japan. Highly touted, highly spoken about, but now that I'm not in the government, I can speak about it. It's a program which was almost stillborn on the day it was born, because it was a good concept, well thought of, but then it didn't get traction enough. When you question Japanese aid agencies like JICA and others, they will tell you that we have individual bilateral and trilateral projects in various African countries with India, and that is where it stops. But it's a good idea. So Ambassador Mishra also mentioned about lots of trilateral projects which we do in Afghanistan in cooperation with third countries, even in some of Southeast Asian countries we've been doing it. But the basic point is that our developmental cooperation is one which is based on our philosophy of sharing our expertise, sharing what we have with others who may need it, and based on the need projected by them, not by us. We don't go and tell them that you need to train some electricians or you need to train some nuclear scientists. They tell us that they would like to train their electricians, or that they would like to send the nuclear safety people to us for training, and we agree. So I'm happy that this subject of developmental cooperation has now been given a very high billing in the government, well after my having left it. It used to be dealt with by too many people. It was very distributed. Now far more coordination under a senior officer. So I'm happy that DPEA has been doing a wonderful job. Best of luck to you. Full strength to your pen and your elbows and your arm, that you are able to, in spite of all the difficulties which India has, that our DPA is noticed, and the difference between the DPA and the BRI is very well known, certainly in African countries. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, would you like to respond, Ambassador Mishra, just now, or take some more questions? Maybe read out 1 or 2 more questions, Shweta.
Yes. I think there is some network issue from.
No, he can listen to us.
Yeah. Okay. So, sir, the question is, what do you think that the delays in assistant projects, whether in Nepal or in Bangladesh, are they contributing to negative relations vis-a-vis India? And if India is providing so much assistance, is there any benefit to the country as well, apart from good political relations?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to place my sincere gratitude to my respected colleague and friend, Sir Ambassador Rajagopalanji, for sharing his thoughts. And we in the ministry very fondly remember his work and tremendous contribution that he made, and particularly on the establishment of IT program and his comments on the importance of knowledge sharing. We fully share. In Sanskrit, there is a couplet which says, Annadanam Mahadanam, Vidyadanam Mahattaram, Annena Kshanika Tushtihi Yavat Jiva Vidyaya. It says giving someone food is a great gift to give. But the gift of knowledge, gift of enlightenment is much greater, because gift of food provides temporary relief and temporary pacification, whereas the gift of knowledge can last for the whole life. And therefore the importance of sharing knowledge, sharing experience, sharing wisdom, and that is, I think, the most important contribution that any friend, any guide, any partner can make. So that remains a very high priority for Government of India in terms of its developmental engagement. That will remain the most important flagship project. And other Ambassador Rajagopalan referred to cricket. The cricket stadium in Guyana, or cricket stadium in Afghanistan, or football stadium in Maldives, they are very, very important, because for the people of that country, those sports have deep social, cultural, political significance. Luckily in Afghanistan, again, based on my own experience, the support that Government of India has provided in building their Afghan cricket team, and the kind of unity and joy that the cricket team of Afghanistan brings to the people of Afghanistan is something to be experienced, to be believed. Those non-developmental cooperation projects also have tremendous societal value. Based on the priorities of the host country, we have been occasionally creating those kind of infrastructure, and it is appreciated, and we are grateful that we got those kind of flagship projects. Also, friends, let me also mention that there is a recurring perception which in the media, which is thought to be created, that India's development assistance programs are not fast enough. So this is again a question of perception. It is true that in some cases we are facing delays, but in a project, if you visualize the whole project cycle, that there are many constituents, there are many elements, and some of the elements are on the Indian side, some of the elements are on the host country side. And our, as Ambassador Rajagopalanji and also Professor Chintamaniji mentioned, that our approach is always to be guided by the host country and show utmost respect to the rules, regulations, procedures, and the processes of the host country. And therefore, all necessary clearances, consultations, approval of the DPR, all that has to be done by the host country. It's not like some other countries, they come, they bring their troop, and then they will construct it in no time. Because of our democratic nature and because of very inherently consultative, patient, collaborative approach in project execution, there are some delays. But you'll be very happy to note that during Professor Modi's tenure, he himself has inaugurated 68 major developmental projects. That turns out to be about one major development project a month. About one development project a month. if you also include the high impact community development projects, which are small investment but quick gestation and quick impact development. So if you include them, then we are constructing about 2 projects a week past 6 years. In terms of the work that is being done on the development partnership front is quite robust, quite significant. But it has been an issue that we do not talk too much about them, and there is a lack of awareness, lack of information about them, and that is why the role that think tanks like KEEPS are playing in creating awareness and creating platforms for dialogue and sharing of knowledge, information, sharing of new ideas is extremely valuable for us. Similarly, the issue of delayed projects in Nepal and Bangladesh and some other countries and some in Africa. This is what we are doing. This is what personally I'm doing, like scanning of each project, looking at the project cycle. And in many cases, I find that delay is not because of Indian side or some issues. There are some projects in which there are issues on Indian side because of the contractor, because of the issues with the contracting process. But in many cases, the issue of the land and the land acquisition in South Asia is a huge issue. So it is an issue on Indian side, and also it is an issue on Nepal and Bangladesh or some other countries. And also in some cases we have had issues of change of the venue. Like one design is agreed, and then subsequently there is some change of thought, or during the course of the project we found that the terrain was not okay, or some surprises, and therefore the design had to be changed. So there are multiple issues in development of infrastructure projects within one country is challenging, and if you are doing it in another country, then many more stakeholders are involved, and it's even more complicated. Building a major infrastructure project is not really an easy task. And in terms of perception, yes, it is a perception, and friends like you can help us in creating a more factual narrative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So there is the last question. So the Chinese aid is helping China win African votes in various international organizations, most recently in the UN Human Rights Panel, and also getting Chinese-backed candidates elected to the World Health Organization twice. So how does India counter these sort of political benefits of Chinese aid in Africa? Your views on this, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, as I said, it's not really appropriate for me to comment on what China is doing and what their objectives are, but it is for the post. Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Hello.
Yes, sir, we can. Please.
Yeah. No, I was saying. Yes, thanks. I was saying that let me restrict my comments only on the Indian Development Cooperation, Development Partnership. It's not appropriate for me to talk about the Chinese projects and their assistance program, because eventually it is the recipient country, the host country, their government, their people will judge. And whether a country is rich or poor, every country has the self-respect, dignity, and they will realize the game that is being played. And particularly if the motive is not genuine, not sincere to help the country, then it will be felt. As Professor Rajagopalan ji has been reminding us that the Satyameva Jayate, eventually the virtuous path, the good path will prevail, the truth will prevail. And we intend to stick on the path of the genuine solidarity and spirit of cooperation and sharing and caring our friends that our leadership, starting from Mahatma Gandhi and what path he has showed us, we will continue on the same path. very confident the virtues of the Indian method of partnering in development space will will help us in the long run.
You see, one of the constraints of being in office is you're not supposed to speak on everything. So that we understand. And the academics have a luxury that people in bureaucracy cannot enjoy that, right? That we have to understand. But the kind of information that we got from Ambassador Mishra is so rich that there can be any number of research projects. As he said, ultimately an institution like CAPES or even JNU and other universities should be doing research on all these to highlight
Yes.
the real facts. So this is extremely important, and we do appreciate and understand Ambassador Mishra's position that he cannot speak on China because it can be misinterpreted. Immediately, people will say, this is it the government of India position? The Chinese government fellow will not say anything openly about the government of India's
Yes.
policies and all. So, as academics, as researchers, as students and faculty members, we should be raising questions, analyzing, and then telling the world this is what we understand, what China is doing, what America is doing, what India is doing. And another question that was, Chinese are getting votes in international institutions. India क्या कर रहा है? India जो इतना पैसा खर्चा कर रहा है, क्या फायदा हो रहा है? Now let me, without explaining in greater detail, just let me say two lines. Because whatever understanding I have, and I've done some research on this also, economic assistance of any kind to a particular country may not have any direct economic returns. It can have other important implications which are equally good for the interest of the country. There are cases where security assistance is given to countries by certain countries which have economic implications. Even the military bases that the Americans have in many countries, there is a lot of economic benefit even for the people in different countries. So security assistance can have economic implication. Economic assistance can have security motivation or political benefit. So that is why it cannot be, len-den, ye le lo, kya de rahe ho wapis. In real world of diplomacy, things are more complicated and complex, and we cannot draw a straight correlation between 5 rupiya madad kiya to kya fayda hua. Normally this kind of thing becomes very difficult to assess. However, having said that, it is the right of the Indian citizens and the individuals to raise a question. This is very automatic that a question aega, whatever India is doing, taxpayers' money, is it really benefiting my country or not? So the question is very innocent, but answer is very complicated. So I appreciate that Ambassador Mishra skipped that particular answer. So now let me request Bipul to give a vote of thanks. And with Ambassador Mishra, from my side, I'm really grateful, sir. You really spoke very well and gave us a lot of information. But for a formal vote of thanks, I request Bipul. Sir, you want to say something, Ambassador Rajagopalan? Would you like to say something?
Yes, sir, with your permission, before I conclude, I wanted to say something.
Yes, please.
That sir, I wanted to share that in DPA, we are currently undergoing a process of kind of deep brainstorming internally about what should be the approach for a development partnership of India, maybe next decade, or how should be transformed, how it should be made, as you very rightly said, more transparent, more accountable, more targeted, more objective driven, and should be really sustainable for the partner countries, so that the impact of the development activities of India, which are supported by the taxpayers of India, how do we maximize the value for the partner countries of our development project. And in that context, we would really welcome, and we know that this is a great time for us in the ministry, in the Ministry of External Affairs or in Government of India, to reach out to friends and scholars and intellectuals and academicians and critiques of international relations, to have a dialogue, have an exchange of views, and we would personally deeply welcome your suggestions, your vast experience, and also your young team which is associated with you. Please convey my very, very warm welcome. They are always welcome to come and meet me and discuss with me and get any information that they need. And also, please share your ideas. We are welcoming of constructive criticism, because that is how it will improve. We are looking for also sharing of best practices that you might have observed in your experience and travel with other countries. So in terms of sharing of best practices of other countries, in terms of observations from your own travel within India. And we are very keen that we have whole of country approach. The next phase of development partnership activity must reflect the tremendous socio-economic transformation that India has achieved. It should be more reflective of the innovation that has been driving India's development. Particularly since Prime Minister Modi has come to power, there's a lot of brilliant initiatives have been taken. And also we are very conscious that India is not just the central government. India also has tremendous innovation transformation going on at the state level, at the local level. We would really welcome if your friends like you can help us in mapping of innovative socio-economic developmental solutions in India through your network of scholars and young researchers. And based on your input, we can probably incorporate some of the new ideas, new innovative solutions into the basket of development cooperation that we have with other countries. So this is a very sincere, very genuine request and prayer to a scholar like you, that please share your thoughts, please share your ideas, and also please encourage your young team that you have, that they should think afresh. We are very welcoming of constructive criticism and new ideas.
So
Thank
kind
you.
of, definitely will do that. Just for the benefit of the people who are here, I'll just give one little example from my own experience and studies. Quite a few years ago, an innocent American citizen asked a question to the Secretary of State, George Shultz. Why are you spending billions of dollars abroad in Africa, in Asia, as assistance? In what way we are getting any benefit? You are wasting our taxpayers' money. George Shultz, in the House of Representatives, he made a statement which is recorded. He said, don't think that you guys are helping other countries. For every $1 that goes as assistance to a foreign country, after a few years, we get $4 in return. Smart guys. So on the one hand, for diplomatic niceties, we must couch our statements in proper wording. Satyam bada, dharmam chara, sach bolo, acharan karo. These are all nice things. But in the world of real politics, we must adopt those policies which will benefit country and the people of India.
Absolutely. Thank
So
you.
before, can I request you to give the formal vote of thanks?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Kalinga Institute of Indo-Pacific Studies, I extend a hearty thanks to our key speaker, His Excellency Ambassador Akhilesh Mishra. Thank you, sir, for sparing time from your busy schedule to share key insights with us for this distinguished lecture series. Today, we had an opportunity to interact with you, hear your thoughts, and this will surely give us valuable new perspectives. I would also like to extend my heartiest gratitude to our founder and honorary chairman, Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, for his valuable guidance in organizing this distinguished lecture series. Without your vision, sir, none of this would be possible. I'd also like to thank our director, Dr. Netaji Abhinandan, our deputy director, Dr. Vivek Mishra, and other members, interns, and contributors like Biodata, Anindita Mahapatra, Shweta, and others, to name a few, who work relentlessly across India and the globe to provide valuable commentaries into topics of strategic importance and keep us going. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our esteemed members of the audience like Ambassador R. Rajagopalan, Professor K.P. Vijayalakshmi, etc., whose continuous support and presence make all our efforts worthwhile and rewarding. Without you, none of this would be possible. As you are aware, KIPS is the brainchild of Professor Mahapatra, who recognized the growing importance of the Indo-Pacific region and established KIPS to bring together like-minded people to share knowledge and experience. As His Excellency Akhilesh Mishra pointed out, cooperation and sharing of knowledge is the key. Currently, KIPS is a unique institute in being completely virtual and has grown exponentially over the last 3 years. Our board of advisors spans 12 countries, and we have contributors from across the globe. Our viewership extends over 120 countries, and we had over 15,000 unique visitors to our website. Our social media footprint on Facebook crosses over 25,000 impressions a month. Our contributions are recognized by key strategic establishments and eminent think tanks across the globe, and we actively collaborate with scholars and diplomats from US, UK, Russia, China, Vietnam, etc., to name a few. KIPS is always looking forward to associated with like-minded people to further expand the domain of its knowledge and contribute to India in a holistic multidisciplinary manner. As our sir said, once we cooperate, the new paths open up. If you are interested in collaborating with us by writing brief articles and working on different projects and joining our endeavors in various capacities, please reach out to us at info@kips.in or kipsodisha@gmail.com. Alternatively, please reach out to us through our social media channels. Once again, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all of you without whom none of this would be possible. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. So nice of you, sir. I'll stay in
Thank
touch.
you. Thanks a lot.